Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we come together to talk about movies, TV, and online content. Help you answer the question, is Pennyworth, the origin of Batman's butler, the funniest title change of all time? It's pretty close. It's pretty up there. I can't think of any other ones on top of the head, but that's something. I'm your host, Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
Was that like the third season?
It is the third season.
Yeah, so a show that I didn't know actually ever came out, and then all I see is this news about them changing the title this week. And then at some stage I'm looking through the comments, people are like, it's actually a pretty good show. And I was like, I didn't actually realize this show was ever out, let alone that they were changing the name to something that sounds like it's fake, but is definitely real. But sure, whatever.
Yeah, got to put the Batman in there so you can get some better SEO.
Yeah, so maybe that's SEO. I've never heard of it, so maybe they're.
So anytime somebody searches up
right,
Batman, they get Pennyworth. Yeah. I haven't watched that.
In case you didn't know.
The origin story of Batman's butler. Oh, very interesting.
The origin story of Batman's butler. Every time you say it, it sounds dumber and dumber.
All right. On today's episode, we're discussing what's in our watch history. We're talking about some news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and talking about this week's top 3. Usually to kick things off, I talk about things, we've talked about on other podcasts, but, I think we're all here for the same reason. Hear Dylan talk about how much he hated the season finale of Better Call Saul.
No, that's not how it's going to go. Right, here's what I'm going to say. Old television is shit now that this show has ended. Obviously I don't
Television
want
has finally peaked.
Yes.
And that's why Warner Brothers is trying its best to destroy it. We'll talk about it later.
So I've always said that I never officially wanted to lock in until it finished so I could view the whole package as a whole. But yes, Better Call Saul is definitely my favorite TV show of all time. It's hit it's in the number one spot for sure. I know it's always sort of been there, but I was like, oh, you can go to shit in the final season. I don't know. Don't want to spoil.
Could all have been a dream.
Could have all been a dream. I don't want to discuss spoilers because I still want people to watch it, and maybe you fucking one day will actually watch a good television show. But I can't remember the last time. Maybe it was Breaking Bad, which would be funny if it was, because of course then it's just
it's the same show.
It's basically, it's just the same fucking people and same show. But I can't remember the last time I watched a finale of a show, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it for days. Periodically, I would just I would be standing there making coffee days after, and suddenly I'd just be thinking about the way it ended, or a moment or something, and you zone out just staring at it or something. And there was a sense of emptiness days following where I'm it's over. What the fuck? And I mean it is a pitch perfect as far as I'm concerned final episode. It is an amazing hour length. It was a little bit longer than usual episodes, an hour 6 or something episode of TV. It's fucking amazing. But there is that little bit of oh, well, that's the last time I get to see these characters. But everything that happens is perfect. And yeah, there's I swear to God, if they don't get some Emmys this year, I'm gonna be fuming there's one that I'm obsessed. I've just been I could look at the cinematography to just certain choices, the way there's stuff that echoes back and stuff like that. There's a trust I feel that they have with their audience to understand to be able to think about character decisions a bit more than just without having to fully spoil it and have them actually say things the final scene, or one of the final the final scene basically is nearly all just silence with these characters, but what's happening, what's actually going on, and what it all means and stuff like that. And the only thing I will spoil, it's not a story thing, and I said it to you the other day, but I just want to point out again for anyone listening, the fact that the last 5 or whatever episodes of this show was 90% in black and white. And they fully were no, we're doing that. We're sticking and committed to the black and white thing. I think is is definitely a choice that you just trust that people will be okay with and go for that. But yeah, I mean, they're just some of the best written characters you could ever go on a journey with on TV, like how everything plays out. And the show, I would have said years ago, like, and I think when we watched the first episode of the first season, I would have said to you, and I would have said to anyone at the time, like, I don't think for 95% of Better Call Saul, do you have to have watched Breaking Bad? I think you could definitely start Better Call Saul without having watched Breaking Bad. It does not matter. It's set before Breaking Bad. There are some callbacks or call forwards technically, but if you miss them, it doesn't really matter. Like it's sort of hit or miss. However, by the time we get to the last season, and they go to the black and white timeline, which again, I guess slight spoiler, but the whole thing is like the first episode of the first show starts with this black and white scene. It is set after Breaking Bad. It's where Saul is at after the events of Breaking Bad. And then by the time you get to the end of the show, the last few episodes are actually all during that time period. Like they reach a point where the story they'd been telling reaches a point where it's like not as directly up to the events of Breaking Bad, but like his character's reached the point he's become the character that you see him become or see him who he is in Breaking Bad. So they just do like a hard cut. Like they're like, nah, that story's over there. We're now like however many years ahead. We just skip over the whole Breaking Bad timeline, just assume that at this stage the people watching it have watched it. So that's the only point where, yes, you definitely, I feel, need to watch Breaking Bad. And I do wonder, like, I do want to do a Breaking Bad rewatch and everything else because I feel like after having watched this, it'll make me...
So what if we did it in chronological order?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely would if you were someone like... Okay, so Dylan, you're saying that you could watch this without watching Breaking Bad. What should I do? I think Better Call Saul is a way better show than Breaking Bad. And that's saying something considering Breaking Bad is considered by a lot of people as one of the greatest shows of all time. And Breaking Bad is one of my favorite shows of all time. They're both fucking amazing shows. But I would still say, even though this is better, that yes, watch Breaking Bad first and then watch Better Call Saul.
Okay, so watch them in release order is what you're saying.
Yeah, just watch them in release order. Because by the time you get to the end of this season, you'll get more out of it. I do think there is something to be said about watching Better Call, like when I do watch Breaking Bad now, having all this backstory that wasn't relevant at the time for Saul in Breaking Bad is going to make me view that character a lot different, the same as Mike and Gus and a few other characters that are in both series. There's some things that like just fill in the blanks and stuff like that, and will make me think about certain choices they make a little bit differently, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, it's even like it is between. So you've got Breaking Bad, fucking 10 out of 10 series, and Better Call Saul 10 out of 10 series, and then you have the El Camino movie as well, which is probably a 9 out of 10. It's quite as good as the the things, but like between all three of them, it's like this just sort of. I think it's like 14 years of. I think it's like just shy of 15 years of between everything that sort of goes for it. But yeah, it's definitely, and it's like crazy to think about the fact that, I don't think I can spoil it, but Breaking Bad's finale last episode, very action packed, a lot of action in it. I think I've seen a lot of people disappointed in the finale, who were complaining that it was not that. But if you were expecting something like that, I don't know what the fucking show you've been watching, because Better Call Saul's never been that show, and Saul is not that character. Like Walter White in Breaking Bad he'll like by the time he reaches the end of that show, he's meant to be scary. He'll fucking kill you. He kills people. So, but this is a completely different character. So I don't know why people were expecting that. And yeah, that's another really good thing about the finale is that they it's definitely all about the character and less about the action and stuff like that. Look, I could rave about it for days. I know it's a bit of a meme on me, like obviously talking about Ray Seahorn and all this sort of stuff, but which I saw a video today of Bob Odenkirk, someone on the red carpet somewhere, like asking about like the upcoming Emmys, and like even he's like, but what about her? And I was like, yeah, like he's like even he's like championing her. So yeah, like there's one scene she does this season, like it is, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like I'm like you've gone past acting into. It may sound hyperbolic, but yeah, I can't like you have to see it. Like there's this, and there's such like the thing is like they're not loud performances, like, and maybe that's why a lot of people don't appreciate it, because it's just like they're not. Well, Soul is sometimes loud, but especially her, like her performance, like what makes it so good is like they're just like usually more nuanced, real characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's the best show of all time.
Yeah. I'm happy for you that it all worked out. Like, especially considering that from all reports that I've read from like various sources this week, we're like minutes away from not being able to have this ending. You know what I mean?
Why?
If events had have not worked out for Bob Odenkirk on set.
After his
heart attack. It's like if one of the staff hadn't been returning a defibrillator, like maybe he wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, so listening to the podcast that they do, the Better Call Saul Insider podcast, Vince Gilligan on that said that like after that he has like one of those like defibrillators, like he got them installed like in like every set, and like he's like now a big supporter of like having these things more prominently available in case anything like this ever happens again, and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, they talked about how scary it was for everyone, and the fact that like that was in the midst of filming this really intense like integral scene when it actually happened, and they had to come back like 3-4 months later and sort of just fall back into that, which you wouldn't even notice like watching the episode. So yeah,
awesome. All right, so yeah, I guess check out Better Call Saul.
Yes, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, watch it all.
All right, we both checked out the latest film from Jordan Peele, Nope, starring Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, in which they play siblings who are working for their father's recently passed father's horse training business, not going so well when Daniel Kaluuya's character thinks he sees a UFO go across the sky. So they both set out to capture footage of the UFO, to get their Oprah shot and become, big stars and that kind of stuff. So, I, of course, am not a huge horror fan. I don't think this is over horror-y, if that is a word.
I don't really think it's horror at all. It's like
it is very much like a thriller, sci-fi film. There are definitely intense and scary moments. Like,
it doesn't make it a horror movie.
Yeah, and like it does like have tension or fear-inducing moments just in the sky, which is kind of a weird thing. And this is a very bright movie. Definitely, there's a couple of scenes at night, but a lot of it takes place during the day and that kind of stuff. But yeah, really enjoyable, a lot of fun, very big spectacle. There's things you'll see here you haven't seen anywhere before. Yeah, really enjoyable cast, lots of good humor. Yeah, it's not a film that's going to hit you over the head with its message. And there's definitely a lot of subtlety and like metaphors and that kind of stuff, but it is an enjoyable experience that I would recommend. Dylan, what are your thoughts on Nope?
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it's just from like a base level sort of sci-fi, like aliens in the sky sort of like thing. It's like sort of on paper, watch the trailer. Like if you go in and think that's going to be fun, then I think you can enjoy it for that. Going deeper,
don't watch the final trailer. Is the only thing I would say.
Oh, why? What do
they like show like stuff from the last sixth of the movie?
Half hour? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Don't watch that then. But yeah, I think if you're gonna I think you could definitely enjoy it for that. And then there's that second layer of the onion or whatever to get into. That's interesting. Which is like it's interesting to say because of course the film opens with this scene that's like you could just ignore it if you want and ignore anything to do with that and not come to understanding and whatever. Like, and we had to discuss on our spoiler cast like what exactly all of that means. I feel like we're like on the right track with all of that. Maybe not 100%, but I stand by everything said in that sort of what all that sort of means. And my thoughts haven't really changed. So, yeah, all that's super interesting. But yeah, visually it's phenomenal. I love the way it's shot. It's got these beautiful wide shots of stuff at times. There's like sort of freeze frame moments you could hang on your wall, which is really, really great. Great performances, really fun at times. The standouts are definitely what's her name? Keke
Palmer.
Keke Palmer is definitely the standout, of course. Yeah, really good. I don't think it's as good. I would actually put it in third place, personally. I would say I'd still enjoy Nope and Get Out more, but Get Out and Us more, but that's not saying this is bad, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, so check it out, our spoiler cast if you've watched Nope. I will go see Nope in cinemas now. We also did a spoiler cast for The Rehearsal. All 6 episodes are now out on Binge. Of course, this is the series where Nathan Fielder is helping people with their problems by helping them to rehearse their whatever situation they need to they need help with in massive, like, over-the-top, expensive rehearsal recreations. Safe to say, we knew very little about the series going in. We knew very little about Nathan Fielder going in. The series has captured the imagination of everybody on the internet. It is like every Saturday, the internet blows up talking about what crazy shit has gone down each week. It did not let up all season. Just when you think there's no other crazy shit that could possibly happen, crazy shit happens. Check out The Rehearsal as well. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't ask my thoughts, because we struggle to talk about thoughts in a spoiler-free zone, let alone spoiler zone, let alone try and give you my thoughts in a spoiler-free zone. All I can say is that I really enjoyed the show. I think it's definitely going to be in my top 10 TV shows of the year. But just trust that what we're saying is true and that it's a must-watch TV of this year. But I have no idea how to tell you why you should watch it.
You will see stuff that you've never seen before.
You can't use that for 2 things.
Yes, so, yeah. Check out our spoiler cast for The Rehearsal if you've watched The Rehearsal. If not, check out it on Binge. It's worth it.
Binge it.
We also, over on All New Marvelcast, we talked about the first episode of She-Hulk. Of course, this is the series focused on Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walters, an attorney in LA, who accidentally gets hulked after an accident. Freak accident causes her to become a She-Hulk. Dylan, what did you think of the first episode of She-Hulk?
It was a fun first episode. I'm keen to see where it goes. Definitely had kind of some issues with a certain decision that happens at the end that just seems like to not
very disjointed.
Sort of put me off. It was distracting just how out of the blue it was. I ran it. But other than that, cast was great, a lot of fun. Enjoyed some Hulk jokes, and I'm, as I say on that episode, I'm not the biggest fan of Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, but I enjoyed. I got a few laughs out of me for his bit in this. So, but yeah, Tatiana Maslany is the star of the show for sure. She's fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. Lots of fun, lots of jokes. Of course, it's already gone all over the internet with the big revelation about a certain MCU character, that's made everybody very happy. Yeah, good times. Excited to see how it develops, because this first episode was definitely an origin story. Probably very different to everything else that's going to come later on. Very little law practicing, even though apparently they cut a bunch of courtroom scenes because they're like, "Fuck, we don't know how to write courtroom scenes. Let's just do other stuff instead." So, if you're expecting high profile cases and that kind of stuff, I don't think that's what this show's going to be. But yeah, good times. Fun comedy, different flavor to what we've got in the MCU so far. All right, Dylan, the last episode of Westworld came out. How did season 4 fare?
I liked it. Nick didn't like it. Shout out to Nick, who came back for.
Woo!
It was good seeing him coming out of the
retirement.
Cave and goes back. Yeah. The way it ends, it's a wild finale. I definitely feel like the show got more interesting this season than it did previously. I think said when I talked about the first episode, that feel a bit more like the first season stuff. But yeah, where they leave the show is really interesting. It definitely has to be the last season. Like, it very much feels like it's set up for one last season. Like, it's, the characters literally say it's time for one last game. It's like one of the lines from the last season, last episode. So, like, it's all very set up. Plus, I feel like nearly everyone's dead in the show at this point, and I don't think that's a spoiler because fucking characters are dying left, right, season. yeah, I'm keen if there is one final season with how things are set up. But yeah, my biggest problem that me and Nick agreed upon is that this show has never been great at action. It excels at its writing and having like these interesting characters and metaphorical discussions about life, and does it the cyberpunky themes of humans versus AI and like what it means to be human, and all this sort of all that sort of stuff is what makes the show good. However, anytime there was an action scene in the show, it's not particularly done well. And the last couple episodes have a bunch of shootouts, and there was even a meme post someone posted on the Westworld Reddit of the fight. There's like a shootout that happens in the final episode. Someone posted the meme of this in Naked Gun, whatever it was, where like Leslie what's his face is like shooting with the bad guy, and they're like right next to one another on the same side of the crate, like just missing one another, which is sort of how it plays out. So yeah, the action's not great, which is sort of the downfall, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Thought it was.
And we also, over on All New Marvelcast, we discussed the 5 I Am Group shorts. They're cute. Gruder's Menace. Watch them. It's like take up like 25 minutes maybe at most. Good time. Good jokes. Good time.
I watched them all again. I forgot. I need to recheck in.
Sure, why not? The only thing is they aren't collated in like a single place.
No, it's shit.
Yeah. Why? Why Disney Plus? Dylan, you watched the first couple of episodes of the new Disney Plus documentary series, Fearless, the inside story of AFLW.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. For what I've watched so far. I think it's going to be 6 episodes. I think is what.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not the sports guy around these parts. I'm no grandstand guru, but I enjoy a good documentary. So that's where I'm at with this one. So if I say I enjoyed this, that I feel like that stands for something. But yeah. So it follows. I think it's 3 or 4 teams, whatever it is, primarily in the AFLW league. A thing that I knew very little about, to be completely honest.
I hate women's sport.
Because I hate women. No. Because I don't watch sports. I'm not a real man. I only watch fake sports like Pokemon Unite, which is not on.
Check out Arcade
right
Couch
now
for that reference.
Yeah, there's like some really cool like things happening here. I feel like the only thing is, and even I'll say this, like the constant like lines about, like just like what is it? They're bad. It feels forced at times when they're giving pep talks. And I don't know if they're doing it for the cameras or that's how they really speak. But if it is how they really speak, I feel like the captains on nearly every team is terrible at pep talks. It's a weird nitpick, but because you hear them and they'll be like, everyone's like, yeah, let's go out there, let's fucking smash them. Like, I don't know, like I feel like I was like nearly every team, like the pep talk isn't really like really good. It's like very similar. So
They're not going to do Rudy every single match.
I don't know, but I was just like, these are all pretty bad pep talks. To be honest.
Not going to remove the Giants.
I guess not, but I can't remember any of the players' names, so I can't do that. But I know so one of the teams has someone that was well loved on the team who passed away like a year prior or 2 years prior or something like that. I can't remember the name, Barty or something like that, I think is the name. So like that's an interesting, I think that's covered in the second episode about how I felt about that, and that's like the way everyone talks about her, and like the way the team is like gives it after every training session or game, gives everyone the award named after her. They like self-award based on like who plays the best like her or lives up to her spirit or something like that, which is really nice. You have another person who is this European woman who came over after, I don't know if she played soccer or some other sport, but she was like part of that, and she came over to join the AFLW. And then like in her first match last year or the year before, whenever it was, would have been the year before. I think this was filmed last year. So the year before, she like fucked herself up like 5 minutes into the game. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she had to be put off for like rehab for ages, and they said it was like really close to like being a lot worse or something like that. And so she sort of has to come back into it, and you get to see like support for her and all these sorts of things. And then you see the effects of COVID, the fact that they have like 1 games. I think it's the Bulldogs team or someone like that. They they come back in for training the week after, and they're doing COVID tests coming in, and like so many people get COVID, they don't actually have enough people to put on a game. And they talk about how compared to the men's, like the normal AFL, they only play 10 rounds in the women's league. So like missing one game is like, if you can't play that game, you have to forfeit it. It's like, well, like you're basically fucked. Like, you know, because there's not as many games to make up for it, sort of thing. So how big a deal that is and why it sucks. They also cover the fact that none of them get paid proper, like full-time wages or, like anything like that. So a lot of them are working part-time jobs and all these other sorts of things to make it work at the same time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is super interesting and something that I guess a lot of people wouldn't know. But yeah, I would suggest watching it if you're a fan of good docos. I think it is definitely a good doco. If you're a fan of AFL, like I assume you're going to watch this, right? Surely.
Yeah, I'll probably check it out. I mean,
yeah, I definitely feel like that's
brings my
breaking
interest down a
factor,
little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like if you're a AFL fan, then this is well worth watching. See, especially they covered like how big the first game was, and like and as someone who doesn't like watch the stuff, I was like, this looks pretty massive. I know everyone, like all I ever hear is people shit talk to women's league and say that no one watches it, but there always looks to be enough people at these matches to me. I don't know, like what do I know? Like,
yeah, what do you know? Anyway,
yeah,
check so this is coming to Disney Plus 25th of August, so tomorrow from day of release. So check it out there. Speaking of women's sport, I watched the new Prime Video series, A League of Their Own, a new adaptation of the 1992 film. This time co-created by Will Graham and Abby Jacobson. Abby Jacobson stars as Carson Shaw, who is an aspiring catcher who gets recruited to the Rockford Peaches in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League during 1943. During the war, they decide, hey, we need people to play baseball. Might as well be a bunch of women. And it just kind of follows them from tryouts through to, playing through the season. I'm only like 3 and a bit episodes in. It's enjoyable so far. It's interesting. They've decided to go with, they've got Abby Jacobson, who plays Carson, is one of the 2 leads. And they've also got Shantae Adams, who plays Max, who is a young black woman who, because it's in 1943, isn't allowed to play on the baseball team. Who has her own path towards becoming a baseball player, and that's kind of like going. So we follow Carson and all her things on the road with the professional team, but then we also follow Max and her trying to actually get to play baseball. So yeah, really interesting. I think it is definitely not like the 1992 film, even though I can really barely remember what happens in that. All I remember is Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, and Madonna. And Madonna and Gina Davis are sisters. I think that's the only thing I kind of remember. It is one that I want to go back and watch. But I'm enjoying this season so far. Darcy Carden from The Good Place and Barry is in the series, who plays she's a very interesting character. Yeah, a lot interesting ensemble of characters on the team. Different types of characters. Nick Offerman plays the coach, who's a old professional player who is established very early on, not really interested in coaching them. Is just there for the paycheck, pretty much. To have his, because of his name is helping the team or whatever. Yeah, really interesting. I'm enjoying it. So obviously they have a lot more lesbian relationship. They have a lot more LGBTQ cast and member stuff than was in the 1992 version, which is actually quite true, because apparently the person that the series is based on just came out this week at the age of 95. like publicly. So
Never too late.
it is never too late to be who you really are. But yeah, it's just a little bit jarring that there's all these, people like, because it's very against the times. It's like multiple of the same storyline, I guess, to a certain degree. I think it's probably going to upset some people who just wanted on top of there being a race angle, there's also all these LGBTQ. It's just too much wokeness in one series. It's
Just
meant to
like
be
real
about
life.
baseball. It's meant to be about baseball, Dylan. All right, let's move it to the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. I finished watching The Sandman. Man, that show was great. Of course, this is the series based on the Neil Gaiman comic book series, the much beloved comic book series. It follows the dream of the Endless, who's an entity who's in charge of the dreaming and dreams, who in the first episode is captured by a human and imprisoned for 100 years. Well, 120-something years. It's a very long time.
Sucks.
Who then breaks out and then has to like kind of fix all the problems that have popped up since he's been, imprisoned. I think the season adapts the first two graphic novels. So, yeah, really fun, enjoyable. Each episode feels like its own self-contained thing to a certain degree. So, I guess you couldn't like watch any single episode, but it feels like it's interesting because with a lot of these Netflix shows, it's like they'll have one arc throughout the whole season and they'll kind of dip in the middle. But because this is like pretty much covers two different arcs, you kind of finish one arc and then the next one kind of picks up straight away. There is, like I said last episode, Kieran loved the episode 6, which is pretty much Dream hanging out with his sister Death, as you do, and kind of going around as people die. I don't know. It's a beautiful episode. There's also lots of cool things. Really enjoyed how the season kind of wraps up. As someone who's hasn't necessarily read the graphic novels, but I listened to the audiobook, which is further along than this season of television has done. It was enjoyable, like seeing all these characters brought to life. They've got a really great casting across the board. I think Boyd Holbrook as the Corinthian, fantastic. Tom Sturridge as Dream is great. Just a fantastic series that everyone should check out. They also dropped a special 11th episode, which adapts to...
How long was that?
It's an hour.
Okay.
It adapts to like smaller, like one-shot stories. It's a two-parter. Like the first part is it's a fully animated story revolving around cats, which probably takes like 20 minutes. And then there's a longer story that follows. It's got horror elements to it, I guess, to a certain degree. I think even that you could just watch by itself, like this episode. Lots of like fun cameos. No, is it Arthur Davil? I want to say Davil, who plays Roy is in the episode. Rory, that's it. Plays a person in this episode. Very much unlike Rory, so it's a little bit just scary.
Yeah, but I thought you had mentioned. Remember from that hit CW show?
Oh yeah, he played
Captain whatever.
Yeah, he was in DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he was like the lead in the first season, which was the worst season. So I think I kind of.
I was going to say it wasn't anything like Rory in that either. But
no, yeah. But yes, super enjoyable. Definitely check it out. I think the only thing about this special episode, the cat animated, they're like, they don't like move their mouths when they're talking. It's like when they talk to each other, it's all mental shit, Yep, that's the best way to describe it. So check out The Sandman. It is doing very well. I think it's like number 1 almost every single country in the world at the moment. So at least on Netflix. So yeah. Have you finished watching The Sandman yet, or haven't caught up?
No, I haven't caught up. I haven't changed since last week.
All right. What else? Also watched the romantic comedy Wedding Season. It is a generic rom-com, except it's set in a Indian family, in which I can't remember what their names are. It's the classic story of, girl's super busy and businesslike and wants to focus on a career, but her mum really wants her to get married, so she sets her up with some random dude, and they decide, hey, we're going to have a fake relationship so people stop bothering us about trying to get into a relationship. But no, they start having feelings for each other. Oh no, somebody does something wrong, and then they break up, and then there's a big emotional moment at the end, and they get back together. It's that movie, but with Indians.
Spoil the whole movie. Come on now.
But with Indians, so I mean, it's enjoyable. One of the leads is from How I Met Your Father, which is kind of why I wanted to watch it, because I like him in that. So yeah, I mean, it's charming enough, but it's pretty quick cutter and like not overly surprising or anything. So, Wedding Season, that's on Netflix. Apparently, there's another Wedding Season movie or series with the exact same name. That's from the UK, coming to Disney Plus, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of, actually.
Yeah. All right. Then I've got a bunch of docos that we both watched.
You know what I did watch this week?
What?
Just to interrupt. So I got about 15 minutes into Triple R, and I just had to turn it off. Credits was too long, and it's fucking bullshit movie. Don't watch that. It's too long. Bullshit.
I hope you're memeing, right?
I'm totally memeing.
Oh man!
I just remembered. So.
You remember that? Remember that tweet that went around? Everybody with the serious film career is like dunking on this one dude. Serious critics. Just fast forward, mate. Like Netflix is like the easiest to like skim through something to like and then not miss anything.
Years ago, I used to watch a movie podcast that he was on, and then at some stage I was like, I don't know, like if it was one thing or a serious thing, so I was like, wait, I don't think I like this guy anymore, and I like unfollowed him and like everything, and then like everything every now and then I see him pop up with a really shitty take, and I'm like, I made the right decision.
But yes, we watched a few this docu series. I Killed My Dad. Dylan, do you want to talk about? No, the series is called I Killed My Dad.
Oh, right, okay.
You watched this though. What's I
did
Killed
watch
My
this.
Dad?
It's 3 episodes. I thought it was really good. The setup is this kid. He kills his dad. There's a title. Spoilers. He kills his dad, and it's called I Killed My Dad because like the audio like thing when he rings the cops he's like, hey, I just killed my dad. Blah 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 blah. The interesting part is that so he's claiming like sort of self-defense, and then this lawyer gets involved and tries to help him because there's no way to prove, like they're like, oh, there's no bruises on him, but then they're saying like the show gets into how like psychological abuse, and like they dive into the father and potentially like what he could have been doing, and like so it's and there's some wild I think there's like a wild reveal in the second episode that I was like, okay, the rabbit hole goes deeper. But yeah, so I think it's worth watching. At 3 episodes, didn't feel like Netflix stretched it out to 6 like they do with some of these things. 3 felt like the perfect sort of cool, we're good. I think I'd binged it. I think I watched 1, I was like, oh, I need to know what happens next. And by the time I watched that, I was like, I'm kind of tired, but how many episodes left? 1 more? All right, cool. I'll just fucking finish it.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching as well and kind of seeing how it all unraveled, I guess. It is pretty jarring and like, especially from the jump, it's like, okay, well, he killed his dad. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that he killed his dad, and then kind of the whole story of like what happened to him and like how he got into that situation and like the full-on craziness. I will say, with all those security cameras, and apparently they're everywhere, how do they not have more footage from inside the house? I don't know. That would be my only question. Because they keep bringing up like a lot of cameras inside the house, like every room except the
maybe they're
master
never
bedroom.
allowed to show them for legal reasons or something.
Yeah, I guess maybe they were like seized or whatever.
Yeah. But you know what I mean about the wild reveal in the second episode. I wouldn't have seen about the kid, like past, I guess. Yeah. When that happened, I was like, "What?" Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So yeah, check out I Killed My Dad. We also watched Trainwreck, Woodstock '99, which chronicles the events of, surprisingly, Woodstock '99, which was apparently, as an Australian, I never heard of it before.
Woodstock?
No, like Woodstock '99. I knew the original Woodstock. Obviously, Love, Peace, Cherie Henriques. I didn't realize it was something they brought back or attempted to bring back several times. And man, this was like this was Fire Festival before Fire Festival. I mean, at least Fire Festival, they weren't like rolling around in shit. I mean, so that's a plus. But yeah, just the craziness of the events, of how poorly planned this event was, how many corners they cut, and how, this crowd that from the start, I'm like, wow, these people, like, what, watching the trailer for it or whatever, I'm like, why did these people go crazy, like doing all this terrible stuff? And then you see how they were treated by the people who ran this event. You're like, oh, okay, some of this is justified. Like the setting fires and that kind of stuff, not the actual crimes that these people committed against each other. But yeah, Dylan, what do you think of this docu?
Yeah, I thought it was, it's really interesting. It's definitely a lot of fun to watch. I think I like the way it's like sort of put together, and you get to see a bit of the acts and the way they show that and everything. Like my favorite parts is just the security guard or whatever be like, and then fucking Korn came out, and man, shit went crazy. And then they have the footage of just like the wave of people jumping up and down, or and all this. I mean, like then you also have like the people when Limp Bizkit comes out and they're trying to like blame him for whatever his name is, that motherfucker. They're trying to like blame him for like getting the crowd up or whatever. Like, but I'm also like,
I didn't plan on Fred Durst being a dick.
Yeah, some point in there is like someone in the doco is like goes, you can't be angry at like so-and-so for being themselves. You know what I mean? Like you don't hire Limp Bizkit and then get angry that Limp Bizkit's being Limp Bizkit or Korn's being Korn, or you know what I mean? Like
you could have asked them not to do the song "Don't Break Shit,"
Well, just don't fucking hire. Like, but this is the other thing that gets me right. So I've seen some criticism that this show this doco paints 99 like 69 was the best thing ever, when that's not actually true at all. Like 69 had a bunch of problems that of its own, like people died and there were terrible conditions there, and like like there's like, it's in retrospect it's like deemed as this big, but the thing was, I think that the major difference from the outset of this is that although stuff went horrible with 69, is that like people were there as peace, love, and unity and all that sort of stuff. Like that was like the thing. Whereas everyone coming into this is like bro dudes, like late 90s, like just old bro dudes. And I'm like, this is just not the same. Like times have changed. Like this is not the same type of people. The acts you've got
in this are very different to the acts that we're performing.
The acts you've got, and then you're hiring all these like, so you're hiring these big loud like rock bands and like very aggressive sort of natured songs and whatever else. I'm like, what the fuck do you think's gonna like to a degree? I'm like, you just you threw the match into the fire, like with everything else, like
threw the candle on fire.
Yeah, really. Like we're gonna take away all your water at the entrance. Like charge you $5 for water, and then we're gonna like make you,
and then we're
dehydrate you and starve you and then not clean up your mess and make you live in puddles of shit, and then we're gonna literally
not have sanitized water.
And we're gonna tie it to right and see what happens. So.
I mean that one girl talking about her mouth. Not good.
Oh, I had some stuff go wrong, and later on I found out it was because I had digested.
Just the health sanitation people coming and testing. We came back a day later. It was terrible. Why were they letting him drink from this?
It was poo water.
So if you want to see a complete train wreck, check out Trainwreck Woodstock 99.
It lives up to the title, that's for sure. Doesn't undersell it. It is a train wreck.
It is
and more so.
Accurate. So also, I watched the first installment of the new season of Untold, which is the Netflix's like sports documentary series. This one is The Girlfriend Who Didn't Exist, which follows All-American Notre Dame footballer Manti Te'o, who in 2012 was playing for that team, became a big star. At the first game of the season, just before the season started, his girlfriend and his grandmother both passed away on the exact same day. Unfortunately, it turned out after an incredible season in which he's like gets to the point where he's considered one of the best 3 college football players in the country, his girlfriend never existed.
What?
Yeah.
What? Hold on. What?
Yeah.
So like he tells people his girlfriend dies.
He dedicated the entire season to his dead girlfriend and his grandmother, and she never existed because it was a massive, elaborate catfishing experience.
Oh, so he thought she was real.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I thought you were saying like he was lying, but he wasn't lying.
No, he wasn't lying. He'd been duped, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting thing is, it's told from this documentary gets both perspectives. I'll say right here off the top, it's pretty clear that they shot all the stuff with him first, and it sounds like they didn't get the Renea, I think that's the right name, until much later, because it turns out that she has transitioned since these events occurred, and
right.
When they're interviewing everybody else about it, they're constantly referring to her as a he. They do bring a disclaimer up at the start, but I think if that's going to be very jarring for some people, like I would, maybe skip this. But just it's interesting, like seeing both, kind of getting a perspective from both sides on this, especially in retrospect, like Manti Te'o was ridiculed and that kind of stuff when all this came out. Obviously, he'd been memed and ridiculed all the years he played in the NFL. So just getting his side of the story, her side of the story, and like how it all went down, like him asking other people if they actually met her and that stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, I've met her, I guess," and like they never did. And that kind of stuff. And then also like Deadline breaking the story and getting a tip from somebody and then figuring it out, like this isn't a real person, there's like no references, this person has been mentioned several times in multiple articles, but there's like no digital record of them anywhere, no Facebook, no Twitter, no anything like that. Really interesting story. I think it is two 1 hour episodes. I think they could have just made it like a 1 hour, like a 2 hour movie or whatever, but I guess it does end on like a kind of a cliffhanger. The first episode is like kind of crazy because she decides she fakes her death. She fakes this person's death and then proceeds to come back later and is like, "Hey, I'm alive." And he's like, it's a crazy story. It's like, that's the moment he kind of knew that something was fucked up. Check that out. Untold. I think it's really good. They've got couple of interesting stories this season, especially they're doing a story about the Australia beating America in the America's Cup for the first time, which is a sporting event that I've heard mentioned several times but have never gone to explore.
Isn't this out like? This isn't out yet, right?
Not out yet. It will be in the next couple of weeks. So I think there's a different one for every week for the next 4 weeks, whatever. So All right, that's everything in our watch history. Let's move into some film news, and really, it's just the continuing shitstorm of Warner Brothers Discovery at the moment. The latest problems that they're having over there is they've cut a bunch of different shows from the HBO Max service, especially a lot of animated shows. Shows like Infinity Train, The Fungies, OK KO, Let's Be Heroes, other stuff like that. A lot of these shows just pulled from the service with no other way to watch them anywhere else. Apparently, the reason they're being pulled is so they don't have to pay any residuals. Yeah, how does... As if their reputation could not get any worse.
They're really penny pinching like the absolute fuck out of everything right now. It's crazy. Like there's no way the residuals on those shows, a lot of people would be getting like, I've seen like actors and celebrities talk about how, you know, like, oh, they stream my movie got played, like I made like fucking $2 last month. You know, like sometimes they're really low amounts. So I just don't think the residuals on some of these like low watched animated shows can be that much. Like I just don't know how it's saving them that much money.
But why wouldn't you just put it on something else first? Like put it on iTunes and the Google Play Store for people to buy a la carte, and then you can pull it, you know?
This is the other thing I'm saying people bring up, like how the whole, you know, digital versus physical thing.
Oh man.
Because this is a big like cross in the digital space. Like these shows are just non-existent anymore. Like you have to illegally download them to watch them now. If you want to watch them,
I mean,
that's literally the only way.
If anything, this is justifying piracy even more. Like, and you know,
like
piracy is a drug when you think about it. As soon as you get your first taste, you're not going to pay for anything else ever again. You're just going to keep pirating until you get rehabilitated.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even tell anyone off if they pirated these shows. Is the thing, like who the fuck are who are you taking money from? No one. Right.
If they won't let you in this day and age, if they won't let you give them money, it's like hard to say, hey, you shouldn't pirate it, even though there's absolutely no way for you to watch it. You know, back in the day, there would be a sense of like you being pretty entitled, you know, thinking you deserve to have access to all this stuff. But you know, it's 2022. There's so many ways you could be making money off this. You're choosing not to. I understand, like obviously Discovery went into a lot of debt to buy Warner Brothers and do the merger and that kind of stuff. But you are just pissing off so many creators. Like especially all these animators who have come out in like the days since, saying they've spent 5 years working on these shows, animating all these frames, and then for it to like be pulled and like nobody can watch it. It's pretty devastating. So yeah, Warner Brothers is it's just crazy over there. I also read apparently they pulled, like obviously a couple of years ago they had a first footage deal with Sesame Street. So like new episodes of Sesame Street would debut on HBO Max.
They pulled Elmo.
They pulled his late night show or whatever. They pulled 200 episodes of Sesame Street. I mean, a lot of it was from like seasons.
These monsters!
From like season 8 to season 25. So, I mean, there's still a lot.
And they cancelled Young Justice again, so.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
They killed Young Justice again!
You bastards.
You bastards!
I mean, what a surprise. I mean.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's like looking pretty happy right now.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you really got to question, why did Discovery buy Warner Brothers at this point? Or merge with them? Like, yeah. We did have some updates apparently on the some of the DC stuff that's still coming out. So apparently, still in the works, the TV line is the Black Canary spinoff, being written by Lovecraft Country creator Misha Green, starring Joni Smollett. That's still a spinoff from the Birds of Prey movie. So, you know, that's still something that's coming. They've also reported that James Gunn's DC projects are safe, including season 2 of Peacemaker. So, you know, that's promising.
Anything that made them a bunch of money and was really popular is pretty safe. So
yeah, probably. The other one, interestingly, that looks like it's safe is Blue Beetle, which I think a lot of people were concerned that was also going to be on the chopping block, or cancelled for tax reasons. That seems.
I'm shocked. It doesn't star a white person, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So apparently that is safe and is likely to actually come out, but that had already been slated to be moving to a theatrical release. So, doubling down on their want for.
Should have just done that with Batgirl. What the fuck?
Yeah. Also, still in development is the Green Lantern TV show. It's still on track for HBO Max, starring Finn Wittrock and Jeremy Irvin. So yeah, that is surprising that is still a project that is still live with them, all their cost cutting, because that can't be a cheap project.
Not when you have to CGI the suit.
Well, yeah. I don't know if they're going to CGI all the suits in this one, but
Even CGI the mask.
you still have to CGI all the things that they make and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I guess the continuing story of Warner Brothers Discovery. Guess we just have to wait to see when they're going to hit rock bottom, and we can get back to something.
Yeah, I don't know I don't think nothing's going to happen. They'll just continue to cancel stuff and we'll complain, and then they'll continue to be probably the most hated movie company in the world. But they'll put out stuff and we'll keep going to it because they're still putting out DC superhero movies.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting, what the subscriber numbers are going to look like in the next 12 months. Apparently, they put out a 40% discount on HBO Max at the moment. So people don't notice that they've been pulling a bunch of stuff. So, we have to wait and see what's going to happen over there. So I'm sure from a business sense, it makes sense, but for a long-term creative project, not good. This is a story that caught my attention. Filmmakers behind indie action thriller Fall were facing kind of a big freaking problem. Lionsgate wanted to pick up the movie for US theatrical release, but Fall, a vertiginous white knuckler about two women who are in danger of plunging from the top of a 2,000-foot tall radio tower, was rife with F-bombs, which would result in an R rating, cramping the box office for a small budget pick. Producers of Fall, which had a production budget of about $3 million, couldn't afford to reshoot all the scenes in which the petrified tower climbers screamed fuck, along with various permutations. The solution: Scott Mann, who directed and co-wrote Fall, turned to the artificial intelligence dubbing technology developed by London-based Flawless, for which he also serves as co-CEO. According to Mann, the Flawless team in post-production changed more than 30 F-bombs throughout the movie into a PG-13 acceptable epithet with freaking, along with a few other lines of dialogue. Dylan, how do you feel about them deep-faking out F-bombs in movies?
I reckon if you're at the potential of falling off a 90,000,000 meter high tower or whatever the length is, and you don't say fuck, then you're a robot. So the movie went from being already really unrealistic with the length of the tower to super unrealistic with the characters now not swearing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in this very specific situation. It's we can't reshoot these things. I'm sure these actors were acting what they thought they needed in the situation. But yeah, it's an interesting story and an interesting way to go down. Obviously, in the past, if you've got a movie that goes to television or stuff with a lot of swearing, they'll do a bad dub of other lines and that. Could we get to the point where they're doing deep faking these things so it's a better fit and all the F-bombs are... Imagine if they take all the F-bombs out of what's the Rob Zombie movie with all the F-bombs? The Devil's Rejects. Remove all the F-bombs from the Devil's Rejects?
Rob Zombie would never allow that.
What if
there's
a lot of money?
The swearing's the least of the problems getting that on TV.
That's
for a
true,
PG-13 rating. So,
yeah. What about if they want to have a Sam Jackson marathon?
Get these mother flipping snakes off this motherfucking plane.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson would never allow that.
Yeah.
He would tell them to fork off.
He probably would. But yeah. Interesting story, like a creative use of deepfake technology, not just, making people look like other people.
The fact that they think they're going to make so much more money off this movie now that's PG-13 compared to if it wasn't, that's the part that's funny.
I mean, if it's PG-13, I'm assuming you get it played in more theaters. That kind of stuff.
Kids ain't going to watch this fucking movie. Kids only watch Marvel movies these days.
Wow. All right. Every week, there's so many different projects, new casting announcements, announcements about directors and, creatives involved. We can't cover them all. So we're going to cover them in a segment we like to call, Would You Want to Invest? I'm going to tell Dylan about a different project. He's going to tell me if he would like to partially invest, not invest, or fully invest with, whatever criteria he deems worthy for that film. And then time will tell whether he makes right decisions or not. Good times.
Always make the right decisions.
Always makes, sure. All right. As the Grey Man climbs the all-time viewership ranks of Netflix, Joe and Anthony Russo are moving fast on their next event film at the streamer, putting together quite the ensemble. Sources tell Deadline that Michelle Yeoh, Stanley Tucci, Jason Alexander, Brian Cox, and Jenny Slate are set to join The Electric State, starring Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt. Russo's will direct, with Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely adapting the script. The film is based on an adaptation of the illustrated novel by Simon Stålenhag and is set in a retro-futuristic past where an orphaned teenager traverses the American West with a sweet but mysterious robot and an eccentric drifter in search of her younger brother.
Fully invest. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but it sounds like an easy way to make some money back.
All right. Ollie Huxkavy is the latest actor to join Apple TV's 6-episode QEP Newton series, The Big Cigar, in a recurring role. He joins an ensemble fronted by Andre Holland, which also includes the previously announced Alessandro Nivola, Tiffany Boone, PJ Byrne, Mark Menkaka, Jordan Christie, and Moses Ingram. Based on the Playboy magazine article of the same name by Argo's Joshua Behrman, The Big Cigar will tell the extraordinary, hilarious, almost too good to be true story of how Black Panther leader Newton relied on his best friend Bert Schneider, the Hollywood producer of Easy Rider, to elude a national manhunt and escape to Cuba while being pursued into exile by the FBI.
Fully invest. That sounds great.
Right. Disney's next feature film, based on its classic theme park rides, looks set to be getting ready to leave the station. As sources tell Deadline, Bert and Bertie are in negotiations to direct a pick based on the Big Thunder mountain attraction at Disney theme parks. A minecart ride set in a mining town where gold is discovered. The original Big Thunder Mountain opened in 1979 in Disney Anaheim, with another version opening soon after at the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. Plot details are unknown, but Disney has always been high on figuring out ways to turn its popular theme park attractions into big feature films, even if the ride isn't based on a Disney movie.
Fully invest.
Wow.
Have any of these done bad?
Haunted Mansion?
What, like 2003 of Eddie fucking Murphy?
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
What about,
Give me a recent one. Give me something that came out.
Jungle Cruise?
No, that did good. That did well at the box office. That's all that matters. The critics be damned. You know what I'm saying? Critics be damned.
Robert De Niro will star in Warner Brothers' mob drama Wise Guys from director
Fully invest.
Barry Levinson. Deadline can confirm. Wise Guys is a period piece, tells the story of Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, a pair of Italian Americans running two separate crime families during the mid-20th century. Genovese tried and failed to assassinate Costello in 1957, though the latter wound up taking his leave from the mob after being injured during the attempt on his life. We hear that De Niro will be taking on both key roles in the film I'd released in the theaters.
I was reading about this the other day, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I read this and went, this sounds so good. I can't wait to watch this. Please, Lord, do not let Robert De Niro die before he films this movie.
Wow.
Hey, he's just getting to that age, man. I got to be worried sometimes.
Yeah, okay. All right. Last one. A spin-off of the 1986 John Hughes film Ferris Bueller's Day Off is in works at Paramount Pictures, titled Sam and Victor's Day Off, from Cobra Kai creators John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Jeff Harold. Sam and Victor's Day Off will follow the same-day adventure of the titular valets who took the Ferrari on a joyride in the Matthew Broderick starrer.
Now, I was reading about this morning, right? To which I saw someone comment and say, why does this have to be a spin-off, and why couldn't it just be a film about two dudes who steal a limo, like in a limo service? To which the answer is, of course, it very well could be that, but they're using Ferris Bueller's Day Off as a jumping point to get people into the cinema to watch it. Then if it was a brand new IP, and guess what? It's going to work. So I will partially invest.
How are they going to make it fit, is my question. Because at some point, they have to meet Ferris Bueller, like when he drops the car off. They have to interact with him at that point. Unless you pick it up straight after they're driving away.
Yeah. You just had the scene.
What?
You have that scene from the movie.
Yeah.
And you digitally put them in.
You replace the actors with the new cast.
Yeah.
But then do you keep the aesthetic of the look of the film quality?
Maybe not the film quality. Maybe you make that scene look a little bit better. Like you digitally upgrade it. But I mean, the movie's going to be set in the 80s.
Yeah. So I mean, clothing wise, it all makes sense.
Clothing wise, yeah. I don't know.
All right. It seems like
I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I just I don't know what that's about.
You desperately were waiting for a spin-off all this time.
Every morning I wake up like, these sequels and shit. Come on, do a spin-off to Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
It's been there the entire time. How come you guys haven't thought of it? The limo driver.
The valet guys, yeah.
The valet guys. Come on. You fools.
Just driving a Ferrari for one day. That's it.
I hope they interact, like they have a scene where they drive past later and Ferris is doing that part where he's in the parade and he's singing and dancing on top of it, and they drive past and they're streets closed. They're what the fuck's going on down there?
Yeah. I hope at some point they are trying to turn the odometer back and then almost break the car and we're very lucky. Let's just give it back to them. Yeah,
let's not do that. If we try it again, it could drive backwards and hurt someone.
Yeah. Or they break something inside the car that nobody's going to look here.
That causes it to do that, yeah.
Could be. Yeah. All right, that's it.
Hire us to write the movie, you fucks.
Yeah. Hit us up. We've got 3 good ideas.
Yeah. That's all you need.
That's all you need. All right, let's give some thumbs to some trailers. Of course, you can find all of the trailers for this week in the show notes below. First trailer is for Do Revenge, directed by Jennifer Caton Robinson, starring Camila Mendes, Maya Hawke, Risha, Sophie Turner, and Austin Abrams. 2 high school student cohorts, Drea and Eleanor, have their lives upended and become rejected by their high school after a topless picture of herself originally intended for only boyfriend Max is leaked. Drea feels shame. Eleanor becomes an outcast when a rumor about her holding Clarissa down and attempting to kiss her begins to spread. Drea and Eleanor form a friendship and agree to go after one another's bullies. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
Why not one day? Looks like it could be a bit of, 90-minute fun, potentially. Maya Hawke's in it. She's good, so I don't know. I was watching this the other day, and my brother was around, and his comment was, is she gay? I was like, I have no idea why. It's she's always a lesbian and everything. I'm like, what have you seen her in? Stranger Things? I'm like, okay, so the 2 things. He's like, yeah, but is she gay in real life? I'm like, I don't know. I've never thought to Google or care. It doesn't fucking matter.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably give it 1 up, 1 down as well. I mean, this is a running thing of people dealing with each other's problems. That's kind of been pretty common recently. Yeah, I like the cast. They're all good, so I mean, I think it'll probably be an enjoyable thing, but my hopes are not very high, so yeah. This one is coming to Netflix on September 16th. Let's look forward to that. Next trailer is for a new A24 film, God's Creatures, directed by Sailor Davis and Anna Rose Holmer, starring Emily Watson, Paul Mescal, and Aisling Franciosi. In a windswept fishing village, a mother is torn between protecting her beloved son and her own sense of right and wrong. A lie she tells for him rips apart their family and close-knit community. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
A24, I mean, no, really, it was really good. It's funny, when the trailer started, I was like, oh, is this another fucking movie about someone not talking to someone? 2 episodes of What Do I Want to Watch? Talking about trailers of, oh, we're best friends if we stop talking. But no, looks really good. I like the tone. I like the thriller mystery sort of thing that's happening with the, look, the setup's is simple, but it just looks good. The setup is literally, she lied for her son, but she doesn't know if he actually did it or not, and that's the go. Like, it's actually something you've probably seen similar in other movies, but like tonally and everything else, it's definitely the type of movie I love to watch. So, and I really like what the fuck is her name? You just said a second.
Emily Watson.
Emily Watson's really good. So, in nearly everything she's been in, I have no idea who anyone else is in this, but she's the key player, of course. But yeah, A24 doesn't look like a typical A24 movie to me, but they've been branching out a little bit lately. So, good, double thumbs up.
This one's a 1 up, 1 down for me. I think it looks fine. No,
you're like more like B24.
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty, like in a very interesting setting. Like, it makes for some good, like, longing looks and that kind of stuff. Solid cast, Emily Watson, obviously. Paul Mescal, who people would probably best know from Normal People. And then I believe the girl is the girl from The Nightingale, the Australian Tasmanian film.
Could be. Well, I don't even recognize it, but...
Well, yeah, it's a completely different century, so that would be...
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's a good point.
But yeah, it just didn't do much for me. Yeah. So this one does not have an Australian release date. Is set to release in America 30th of September. No, set to release in America 30th of September.
That comes out in cinemas next month, though. Bodies. So about that many. That's about a month or 2 months behind the US release or whatever. So faster than I thought. Won't come out in Tasmania or where I am, but
well, I think this one is probably going to be a longer wait unless it gets some Oscar buzz or something. Next up, we've got Wednesday, created by Alfred Goff and Miles Miller, starring Jenna Ortega, Luis Guzman, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. The series is a sleuthing, supernatural-infused mystery charting Wednesday Addams' years as a student at Nevermore Academy. Wednesday's attempts to master her emerging psychic ability thwart a monstrous killing spree that has terrorized the local town and solve the supernatural mystery that has embroiled her parents 25 years ago, all while navigating her new and very tangled relationships at Nevermore. Dylan, what do you think of the first trailer for Wednesday?
Looks great. Double thumbs up. I really liked Adam Sandler. Loved watching the cartoon when I was a kid. So Wednesday's obviously I would say the main character. Well, from that, I guess, has always been, even if people don't think of her as that. But yeah, she's always been like the most fucked up one of the family. So even though she just like sits silently in the background and just talks with a monotone and doesn't really say anything. But I like the live action movie and everything they've done previously. So I've been keen for this sort of since they announced that Jenna Ortega was cast, and then they put out the first picture and everything of her, and I like that. So yeah, watching this looks great. 8 episodes. No idea if Burton's directing all of them or just like one, or what the go is there. But
I get the feeling he must be directing all of them.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
because they put like from the mind of Tim Burton.
Yeah, and I know he's listed as a director of the first, but that's as much as I could find. So at this stage, I'm going to say he's directed all, which is I don't know, just his first like TV show, like mass Netflix thing, I guess. But looks really great. I enjoy the whole piranha bit. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
No, you don't see a bunch of members of the family in the trailer, which I was like, a bit weird, but
well, it is set at the school, so I mean. which I
guess so.
assuming is a boarding school. I don't know if it's like.
Nah, she'll be coming back surely, or you'll see the family. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way.
There's no way you cast them and not have them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is 2 thumbs up for me as well. I think there is a concern that this just turns into like a Riverdale kind of show, with a different crazy mystery every single season. But
it won't be anything like Riverdale. Fucking like Riverdale's.
I mean, yes, it won't go crazy and have superpowers and that kind of stuff.
This
multiple
is gonna have some
multiverse and like timelines and.
I was gonna say some sci-fi shit's gonna happen. Like this show, they already shown with the Piranha thing is gonna run in like a fine line between cartoon and not. Yeah, I guess, but
yeah, I really liked it. I haven't watched much of Jenna Ortega, but she's really good here. Even like just the click at the end, that was really cool. Little thing. Yeah. I'm pretty keen to check this out. So this comes to Netflix later this year. No definitive release date, so look forward to that.
October. Make it a Halloween month release.
Yeah, that would be, I think October makes sense. Because they always have like a big kind of...
It used to be Stranger Things released.
There was Stranger Things, and they did like a season of Sabrina, like something fitting.
Then they did those movies, whatchamacallit things last year.
I think the Fear Street was much more like June, July. But...
Was it? Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
Next trailer. The Greatest Beer Run Ever. Directed by Peter Farrelly. Starring Zac Efron, Russell Crowe, and Bill Murray. In 1967, John Chicky Donahue leaves New York to track down his army buddies in Vietnam and share a few beers with them. But instead, he's confronted with the horrors of the war. Dylan... We obviously memed a lot about Green Book since that won the Oscar a few years ago. What do you think of the trailer for The Greatest Beer Run?
I think it looks fun. I think Zac Efron looks fun. My only problem with it is it does come across very like pro-war or like whatever. And I guess I don't know if that's going to play across differently. They have a couple shots like with him, like with that little girl crying or whatever, and stuff like that. But like the fact that it starts with him, I guess, going to his sister, I assumed it was, or someone like that. But like, what are you out here protesting? You're like hurting our family, and then the setup is literally like these protesters, fuck them. Like don't they know our boys can see this? Like I gotta take them some beer. It's like carries a lot of like just like masculine energy into like like this whole thing, and I guess that's how it was. But yeah, I mean the trailer looks fun, but yeah, I am I'll save my final thoughts until if I watch it, but that's my one concern.
What are you rating it though?
1 on 1 down. I'll go 1 on 1 down. Trailer's fun. So
I'm gonna give the trailer 2 thumbs up. I think it sets a fun tone. You can definitely see, him going on an arc. It's cool to see Russell Crowe, in like a role like this, not being a crazy person or not being Con the Fooderer, just being like a photojournalist trying to explain what's happening in Vietnam at the time. It's like interesting to see Zac Efron get into some crazy situations. And just I came here to give you a beer is a weird concept. But apparently true. Is a thing that happened. This is coming to Apple TV Plus 30th September. So look forward to that. Last trailer for this week, Heartbreak High. Created by Hannah Carol Chapman. Starring Aisha Madden, James Mayjuice, Chloe Hayden, Asher Yaspenik, Thomas Weatherall, Rachel House. A fresh look at Hartley High over 20 years on. With her new friends, outsiders Quinny and Darren, Amory must repair her reputation while navigating love, sex, and heartbreak. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for the new Heartbreak High?
I think I've caught a couple episodes of the show when I was younger, but like I never liked it, or I don't think I was old enough to really get it. I know like the core concept, and this doesn't look anything like the core concept. I don't know, like this is a full reboot, like it's not actually connected, is it? Or like,
I think it's just set 20 years later. So I mean,
okay, right. But yeah, I mean, it looks like I kind of want to be into it because it's like Australian, but I'm gonna go double thumbs down. It did nothing for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it one up, one down. You know, just the Australianness of it. I think it gives a clear direction for where the season's kind of going, with like them kind of her having to have like this redemption arc, I guess. I guess exploring like what actually happens. Like obviously they have this wall with all these connections or whatever, sex acts or whatever depicted on it. How is she involved in that? I think it'll be interesting, and like that kind of stuff. There's like relationships and that kind of stuff. I was surprised Rachel House is involved. That was interesting. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a Netflix team drama, maybe a little bit more less clothing, but other than that, you know, yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see with this one. Yeah, I'm interested, but yeah, I'm hesitant, I guess. So this is debuting on Netflix 14th of September. All right, let's wrap up this week's episode of What Do You Want to Watch with our What Do You Want to Watch top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
In honor of Better Call Saul and the release of She-Hulk, this week we're doing top 3 lawyers in media. Dylan, what is your number 3?
My number 1. Oh, sorry. Number 3 is Jake Brigance. I'm not sure if that's how you say his name. Anyway, A Time to Kill. Which, if you want to pick from any of like the what's his name? Jonathan Grisham? No, I think that's it. Jonathan Grisham. Anyway, he does like all they're all based on his novels. They're all fucking have some lawyer involved in. Anyway, this is the I think 1997. Fuck, I should write some of this down. Anyway, hold on. Let me just double check. John Grisham. Yes, that was close. So directed by Joel Schumacher. Sorry, what did I write? I wrote Jake Brigance. IMDb says Jake Brigance. No, I got it right. Never mind. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey, his character. It's about like this. Fuck, what's the call concept? Like this dude. Like I think it's like Ku Klux Klan member kills like 1 or 2 people. And then that dude, like 2, I think it's like daughters or something, and then or like sons or whatever it is, like, and then the father kills the dudes that did it, and then like the court case is Matthew McConaughey's character's like defending the dude who killed the Ku Klux Klan member dude thing. So like that's the core concept, and you know, is there a time to kill when it's justified? So this used to be on TV all the time. My dad really likes the films. I watched it a lot when I was growing up. Probably one of the first. It was either this was on TV a lot, or the other thing I could have put here would have been. Although I don't like it as much, but it's just simply ingrained in my memory. The Tom Cruise. You can't handle the truth. That one. It's just because I've watched it so many times because it used to be on TV so much when I was in high school. So, yeah, I'd say I actually enjoy this film more than that film. This film has just Samuel Jackson in it too. So, yeah. You've never seen it, I take it?
No. Making this list turned out to be quite difficult because I have not watched many law movies and I have not watched that many law TV shows. So, yes. My number 3... is Nick Fallon from the TV show The Guardian. So this was one of Simon Baker's first US roles. He played like a defense lawyer or like a child advocate after, you know, he had his own troubles. He's got a court order to do a bunch of child court cases and that kind of stuff. Just like, I have this one, you know, sometimes you just see an episode of something and it just sticks with you for a long time. There's this episode where there's this girl who's like having like on like death row pretty much, and like got this almost incurable disease. Like she needs to be adopted, and he agrees to adopt her. You know, puts all the paperwork through. This guy who's like a real, you know, all about himself kind of dude, opens himself up to this little girl, and she dies before the adoption can go through. It's just one of those things that kind of stuck with me. So yeah, I'll put him number 3. So,
That's fucked up.
yep, sorry to spoil this episode from that I haven't watched in like 20 years. Dylan, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Vinny Gambini from the film My Cousin Vinny, which is a Oscar-winning film, actually. Marissa Tomei won the Best Supporting or Best Actress. I don't remember who was supporting or actress. Anyway, but the plot of the movie is that I can't remember the actors. I think it's the Karate Kid. Let me just double check. It is Ralph Macchio and someone else who I can't remember. Anyway, they get like arrested at the start of the film because they're accused of murdering some people in a small town. Anyway, they didn't do it, so then they're like, "Oh man, my cousin Vinny, he's like a lawyer." Anyway, it's he is a lawyer, but it's also Joe Pesci just being Joe Pesci. So like he is a lawyer, but he's just I think the best way to sell this film is there's a point like when they get into the trial. So like you've never seen this movie, I take it.
No, I saw Rudy Giuliani trying to explain the plot of My Cousin Vinny. How many fingers am I holding up?
We should definitely watch it one time because I don't know where we're working in, but it's a very fucking funny movie. They like calls him down and all this sort of stuff, and he brings Marissa Tomei, who's like his girlfriend, and all this sort of stuff to like. So they go to trial, but I can't remember if it's at the very start of the trial or later. But there's a part, and this is the best way to sell this movie, where they're like So he's the defense, whatever the people are, the prosecutors. They did the whole thing. They're like, these people murdered these people and everything. And Joe Pesci just comes up and he's like, I may be butchering the line, but he literally goes, right, well, first things first, everything that man just said is bullshit. Which is like, yeah, so it's quite a funny movie. He's not the best example of a lawyer, but it is a standout lawyer in movies.
You know, if your best example of a lawyer is not good, my number 2 is not going to be a fantastic one either. It is Fletcher Reed, who is a character that Jim Carrey plays in Liar Liar. You know, classic movie.
You're really pulling strings. Does he ever go in a courtroom?
Yes, that's one of the things. Okay, you know, he's a lawyer, so you know.
Oh, that's right. And he can't lie.
He can't lie in the courtroom.
That's where the pulling hair GIF comes from, I think. Actually.
Yeah, you know, him trying to like get through this court without telling a lie is very difficult. And a lot of fun. Obviously, a movie I watched a lot as a kid. So yeah, that is my number 2. Dylan, what is your number 1? Let me guess. It's She-Hulk.
My number 1 is a tie between Saul Goodman and Kim Wexler because I could pick. And you knew I was going to say something along those lines, so yeah, I'm just going to go with that. There. Obviously, that's my pick. Who the fuck else would it be? Yep. Like, y'all knew it was coming. Come on. I don't necessarily. I talked about the show for 10 minutes at the start of the episode. So, there you go. I mean, Saul is not a good example of a lawyer. Kim is, but yeah.
But they're good.
As far as my favourite.
Lawyers. Yeah, your favourite lawyers.
Yes.
We didn't say they were good lawyers.
No. They're my favourite lawyers that I've watched in media, that's for sure. Yes.
Yep. My number 1, Harvey Specter from the show Suits. You know, Suits, a show that I stuck with for several seasons. And, you know, Harvey's great. You know, really enjoyable to watch. Very smooth and charismatic. You know, all on board for all the schemings in the law firm and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. He is my number 1. Bit of a letdown after Dylan's, like, love for Better Call Saul. So, yeah. All right, let's know what your top 3 lawyers in media are and what you thought of Better Call Saul by going to explosion.com/Twitter. Or you can jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Tell people about the show. Leave us 5 stars. Anywhere you can leave 5 stars. And if you like this episode, thoughts worth $1, head on over to a Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
I just found the quote. Vinny Gambini, like on IMDb, it's like Vinny Gambini opening statements. Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you. And it's like DA Jim Trotter. Objection. Counsel's entire opening statement is argumentative. Judge Chamberlain Holler. Sustain. Counsel's entire opening statement, with the exception of thank you, will be stricken from the record. It's funny, movie. I like this him. I need to watch this movie again soon. Reading these quotes just makes me like, because I read it in his voice too, like Joe Pesci voice. It's like, it's this scene where he like gets asked about why he became a lawyer, and he's like, "Well, I got a bullshit traffic ticket. I went to court. I got the cop on the stand, and I argued with him until he admitted he was wrong. And the judge, this Judge Malloy, all while he's laughing and smiling, and then afterwards he asked me to go with lunch with him. Then he says to me, 'You know what? You'd be a good litigator.' I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I don't know what a litigator is. I never thought of becoming a lawyer. But this Judge Malloy, who's from Brooklyn too, he did it. All of a sudden it seemed possible. So I went to law school." Like, it's such a like random story. So good movie.